One of the things that we just have to understand about real estate is there's a lot of money involved. And anytime there's a lot of money involved, it unfortunately attracts all kinds of people. Some people that truly want to help, some people that are just out for themselves, and some frauds. Let's be very clear. I think it is very important if you're going to get involved in real estate investing at any level that you have a very good radar for understanding who is legit, who is a fraud, and who is out for just themselves. We're going to have this conversation with the one and only Dana, the CEO of Hemlane. Dana, how you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting topic. The other thing that's really interesting, obviously, you're in this. We've both been in the Silicon Valley for a long time. You're the CEO of a company. You've gone out and raised millions and millions of dollars in equity and in funds and all of that for your business. And I imagine it's the same thing. But if we were going to step back and talk about real estate investing, there is a lot of money involved, and that can bring out all kinds of people. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, my personal experience from it has been when you try to get your first property, you just want something on the books. And so you're like, great, someone told me to use this agent. Let me go ahead and use them. And what you really need to do is, I think, one, listening is really important. And so every time you're working with someone in a new business relationship, you need to understand, tell me about a time something's gone wrong. What's happening in your market today? If you're working on the property management side, ask, what are the biggest pain points you're dealing with your property management? And the reason I bring this up, Michael, is I've been traveling quite a bit. Every week I've been on the road in the most delightful sense. I love it, right? I love what I do. But it's interesting. There've been some situations where, like, I've gone to a place because property's been on market for too long. And in talking to the agents there, every property has been on the market for too long. They've overbuilt. There's not enough supply not enough demand of tenants. And the more you get to know before making that purchase or before signing up for any sort of service that you're going to use on the property management side, on the contractor side, the more you'll learn. So for example, in that case I just gave, if you're talking to someone and they're like, yep, there's this new development, we're going to be having 400 units come on market, it's build to rent. It's like, okay, great. How do we know the demand is going to come?
Yeah.
Tenants when there's 400 units in this new town. So continuously asking the why, and a lot of these thought-provoking questions will really help you understand, is this going to be a really good opportunity with your real estate or not?
Yeah. It's funny when we talk about this because when I go back to my sales career, one of the things that I was doing as a leader is I always had to hire and retain talent.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I don't know if I was the only guy that did this, but I never looked at resumes ever. Right, a sales guy didn't really give a shit about a resume. But it's funny you bring this up because how did I fill headcount? I only interviewed people that were referrals from my network. Right, that was a gatekeeper for me. Yeah. However, that didn't guarantee anything. That just got somebody in the door. And then I was trying to figure out who they are. Do they match our culture? Do they, just because they were, good at XYZ company doesn't mean they're going to be a good fit here. It was my job to take that referral and see if it's a fit for our company. Is it the skill set? Is this guy just a closer, but he can't farm? Is he somebody that's a big deal hunter, but I need somebody who's transactional? Mm-hmm. Did this sales guy have questionable morals? And, he was willing to bend the line and I'm not. So it's funny when I think about this in real estate investing, I don't mind. I think getting referrals to things is a cheat code. However, it's not everything.
Yep.
It's, especially in today's world, right? You get a recommendation to follow, one rental at a time or use Hemlane. Great. That's a first step, but then you should go out and spend hours getting to know myself or Hemlane. And in today's social media, that shouldn't be hard because you got to figure out, is it Is it good for you? Yeah, you get it. It's great for Susie Q, but is it good for you? And then you got to talk to them, right? I think there's a progression in today's world. What do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I also think that email and chat and all of these mechanisms to get something done, real estate is a people game.
Mm,
And so you need to be on a call. You need to be the best is in person because then you can also understand just their day to day and you
yeah,
kind of get them down from that guard. Like a Zoom is okay with someone, but I found that in real estate and especially with my travels, when you get someone off of Zoom and you see, oh, they just picked up a call from another customer, how did they treat them?
yeah,
See what time they're in the office, what time they leave the office. You can't change personality. I've
mm,
always said you won't be able to change someone's personality. You can teach them skills, but you can't change their personality. And really understanding that will really help. And I've seen that in my own real estate endeavors, as well as with Hemling and all the partnerships we have. It's more important. I mean, I always sit behind a computer in San
mm,
Francisco, but it's like, no, you actually need to get out and really meet these partners to really
yeah,
understand what are they doing and is this in the best interest always of
yeah.
that client and customer on the ground that
Yeah,
investing with them.
yeah. The last thing I'll talk about is the more time you could spend with someone outside of the task at hand, right? A
Mhm.
builder, a property manager, whatever. The more you could see them interact with the world, the better. One of the I don't know, one of the unfortunate things that I saw a lot in my sales career was when we went and did events. We went to Vegas, we went to New Orleans. We just had all like sales every quarter. We had a quarterly business review. Twice a year we had it's just nonsense that goes on in sales. But I would see usually it was sales guys. I did see some sales ladies do this, but most of my memories are sales guys. You really get to understand who they are,
Mhm.
after hours.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there were plenty of guys who behaved in ways I wanted nothing to be around, whether
Yep.
that was over drinking, whether that was dependence on pharmaceutical drugs, or frankly, infidelity and cheating and just all this other nonsense that, you get to see people perform after hours. That's like, well, I know who they are. If you're going to cheat on your wife, you're going to cheat on me some way. And I will never forget what I just saw walking through that lobby.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's wild. The more time you can spend around people, you get to see who they are. Because you're right, you can't teach personality, you can't teach core values. And
Mhm.
once you show me who you are, I will never forget.
Yep. Yep. I couldn't agree more. And that's why I love the kind of in person, hey, let's grab dinner, let's grab
Yep,
lunch, because suddenly their guard falls if they're not trying to sell you something or close
yep,
something. And you really get to know just 5,000 other cases. How did they handle it? Because
yep,
if they have that personality on the skill side, then you can ask all the questions, make sure they know that. But the personality, I think, is core and fundamental. And so, we're in a real estate game. We deal with thousands of contractors across the US and with contractors, with leasing agents, with lawyers. If there's any sort of eviction or anything like that, you really need to know how they're going to act in order to be able to really make sure that when something happens, it's going to be handled correctly.
yeah. The last thing I'll talk about, because again, I think there's a lot of ways we can take this conversation, is there are some people are out there that are just doing it for themselves.
Hmm.
And how do I find that? In the real estate world, it's everything is gatekept, right? Everything is behind, and it always starts with a funnel, right? The first thing's free, then the next thing's $5, and the next thing's $99, and the next thing, and the next thing, all the way
Yeah.
up to a $30,000, whatever.
Yep.
You've got to watch stuff like that. Because again, yes, I sell stuff, but I don't have a pipeline. I don't have, this or that. And the prices don't change. I have nothing over $400.
Yeah.
And, but there's some people are out there that are just trying to monetize everything. And the other thing that's really interesting is I give everything away for free. The only unfortunate thing is I have 15,000 videos and it's your job to go find it.
Yeah.
Right. But and then school is 67 pennies a day, and that's just access to people. So you got to figure out, are they in it for themselves? Are they just trying to upsell you every time? Or are they just there trying to be go-givers? And and, you know, give it all away.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's been fantastic, I would say, to just sit back and instead of talking about myself when I'm in these conversations, just be quiet and just listen at dinner and just ask questions constantly. Their first real estate deal.
Yep.
What do they love about it? What do they hate? What's going on? You learn so much more from every single person you're working with.
And the last thing I'll say is Hemlane is also a go-giver, and I am always attracted to not only your free trials, your pilots, but also your resource tab, which we don't talk about enough. If somebody wanted to come out, check out Hemlane, where should they go?
Yeah, you can go to Hemlane, HEMLANE.com. Our resources tab has a ton of property management, just articles about, you know, how to handle things from thinking about negotiation and lease contracts to screening tenants to tenant landlord law. And then on top of that, we have a free trial, a free plan as well if you're just looking to find and place a tenant. So go to Hemlane.com. We'll provide you all those resources.
Folks, and don't forget, Hemlane has a playlist on this channel that goes back years. So if you want to know more about Dana, just go to the playlist. Watch to your heart's content. Bye-bye.
Thank you.